A non case study, a non-experimental design that includes two phases, A and B. Baseline logic, the basis for experimental reasoning used within ABA, which includes prediction, verification, and replication. Functional relation, a relationship that exists when the independent variable causes changes in the dependent variable, evidence of experimental control. Withdrawal design, type of SCRD with repeated intro and removal of the independent variable within a participant and target behavior. Overlap, amount of data from one phase that overlaps or occurs within the range around the best fit line of the data from another phase. Less overlap is representative of a stronger effect. Basic effect demonstrated when the predicted change in the dependent variable occurs when the independent variable is manipulated by the researcher. Immediacy of effect, magnitude of change in level between the end of a phase and the beginning of another. A type of cyclical variability, a type of instability in the data that represents a repeated pattern of data variability across time. Multi-element design, rapid alternations of interventions within a participant group that allows for the comparison of the interventions to one another, aka alternating treatment designs. Multiple probe design, type of SRCD that involves intermittent data collection at specific points in time to assess whether the behavior change is occurring without continuous monitoring. Allowing for more flexible and resource-efficient analysis. A CRD, where the criterion for reinforcement or behavior change is gradually altered over time. Multiple baseline, history, some extraneous event that occurred during the study and impacted the dependent variable. Multiple baseline design, SCRD with sequential intro of an intervention across multiple behavior settings or individuals demonstrate the effect of intervention by comparing baseline and intervention phases. Sequence effects, the extent to which the order of the conditions may impact the dependent variable. Carryover effects, the extent to which a prior condition may impact the dependent variable within the current condition. Percentage of non-overlapping data points, the percentage of data points during the intervention phase that don't overlap with the baseline phase, indicating a change in behavior due to the intervention. A higher P&D suggests stronger effect. Clinical significance, improved fixing as determined by measured improvement in observable behaviors to an amount that's meaningful. Baseline data, a measurement of the behavior taken before interventions are started. Cumulative record, a graph in which the cumulative number of responses is represented on the vertical axis with the sleeper slope being indicative of a higher response rate. Equal interval graph, equal distances on the axis represent equal absolute amounts of the variable plotted on the axis. Treatment fidelity, the extent to which intervention conditions are implemented as designed. Demonstration research question that evaluates whether a particular intervention works or the impact of an intervention. Permanent products, lasting products of the behavior of interest may be natural or contrived. Parametric research question that evaluates the effectiveness of an independent variable at different levels or amounts. Single case research design, a quantitative experimental approach in which participants serve as their own control, uses visual analysis of data, between group research, type of research in which large groups of individuals are assigned to one or two or more study conditions and differences are statistically analyzed. Dependent variable, the phenomenon of interest, aka outcome variable. Continuous measurement captures all occurrences of the behavior of interest during an observation. Component analysis, research question that analyzes two or more independent variables that make up a treatment package. Comparison research question that evaluates which intervention is more effective. PLA check, variation of momentary time sampling to record the behavior of a group. Count the number of people engaging in behavior at the moment the interval ends.
Girls unit, do you got a copy? Copy.
Momentary time sampling.
Could I please have Charlene to the front office?
Time sampling procedure, record behavior if it occurs at the moment the interval ends. Inter-response time is time elapsed from the end of the previous response and the beginning of the next response. Research, systematic investigation and manipulation of variables to identify associations and understand process. Latency is the time between the onset of some environmental event and the target response. Independent variable, the variable that's manipulated by the experimenter in order to determine if changes in the dependent variable will occur. Whole interval recording, time sampling procedure, record occurrence if target behavior occurs for the entire duration of the interval. Validity, degree to which an assessment measures what it's supposed to. Partial interval recording, time sampling procedure, record occurrence if target behavior occurs at any point during the interval. Discontinuous measurement, estimate of the occurrence of behavior within a specific time period. Correlational research, non-experimental research that identifies relationships between variables. Degree to which an assessment, reliability, degree to which an assessment tool produces consistent measurements. Confounding variables, a variable that impacts the dependent variable but is not the phenomenon of interest. Duration, how long a behavior occurs. Trials to criterion represents the number of trials or opportunities required for some performance criterion to be met. Frequency, how many times a behavior occurs. Rate, the number of responses per unit time, or frequency divided by unit time. Adaptation, changes in data that result from the novel environmental conditions associated within the onset of data collection. Level, how much a behavior occurred, categorized as low, medium, or high based on value displayed on y-axis. Line graph uses a 2D area that's formed by the intersection of two perpendicular lines. Any point on the plane represents a specific relation between the two dimensions, represented by the perpendicular lines. Prediction, two events shown to covary over repeated observation allows for estimations to be made about the future occurrence of those events. Semi-logarithmic charts, a two-dimensional graph with the logarithmic scaled y-axis so that equal distances on the vertical axis represent changes in behavior that are of equal portion. Quantifiable and observable events that are compared with known facts to form a hypothesis. Description, trend is the slope and direction of the data on a best fit line within the phase. Control is a demonstration of a functional relation between the manipulation of an independent variable while observing changes in the dependent variable. Maturation is developmental processes within the participants during the course of the study that may account for changes in the dependent variable. These developmental processes may be permanent or temporary. A change that occurred in how the dependent variable was recorded threatens internal validity. Instrumentation. Internal validity, degree to which an experiment is conducted effectively or evaluates the effects of the independent variable and not confounding variables. External validity, the extent to which the findings of a study can be generalized to other situations, people, etc.